So if you remember, we spoke with Mayuza a few months ago about a very touchy, delicate, and complex subject, and it was driver's licenses for non-legal residents. And this has been an ongoing thing, and now that legislation has finally been introduced. So off the top, can you just briefly explain what this legislation is about?
Yes, the legislation is to allow people who are not legal residents to have a driver's license. This is going on for 16 years to try, and unfortunately it's not been able to get to be approved. So it's back again, and then once again, and I will try with more like emergency because of the pandemic. It's very important is essential for the immigrants, so people in general, to be able to drive, to take care of their lives, to work and take care of the business, family and everything that we needed. So once again, we are trying, and we'll see if it have success at this time.
Right, and we want to clarify too. These are tax-paying, those non-legal residents who own homes, who own businesses, who've been here for years and years and years, and yet don't have the ability to get a driver's license.
Immigrants who are not legal residents are allowed to have a number from an IRS, what we call ITIN, individual tax identification number. This is going on for 24 years, so it's nothing new. And they're allowed to start a business with ITIN number. They are to buy a house, to insure the house and the business, and employ people, and have a normal life. But unfortunately, they're not allowed to drive. They're allowed to finance a car. They can go to register the car at the RMV, but not allowed to drive. And this is not a people who we don't know who they are, or they're hiding, or what they're doing. This is the people that we know exactly who they live, what they do for a living, where the kids go to school. It's among us. It's one of us. Mm-hmm. And they really, it's essential for them to drive like it is for everybody else.
So Mayuza, we talked the last time before the pandemic, mm-hmm. and you talked about how important this was, and that so these people, as you said, they can buy a house, they could buy a car, mm-hmm. but they also do not receive Social Security. They don't receive any government entitlements. They're not eligible for any sort of government assistance, but they pay taxes, and yes. They pay a lot of taxes. So many of them work hard and pay mm-hmm. taxes, and they're able to pay these taxes with this individual tax identification number, right? Mm-hmm. That's the official yes. number that they use, as opposed to a Social Security number. They do not mm-hmm. have a Social Security number, mm-hmm. right? And and you were telling us that those two numbers are very different. There's no way to fake a Social Security number, right? Do you want to tell us how that works?
One of the things that's very clear, there is no way you can confuse ITIN number with the Social Security number. It's the Social Security number. You can't have a Social Security number begin with the number 9. This is one of the rules that Social Security Administration have. They have some rules, and one of them, it's no Social Security begin with number 9. And the ITIN number began with the number 9.
So
there was no room for confusion.
Yeah.
Even
right.
if the person who I'm going to try to pretend this is a Social Security number, that's not going to happen. Yeah. So there was no room for confusion. There was a line that we cannot cross, which is the number 9 is a line. So
right.
And those, anyways, if any government help that any housing or any kind of people think they can change with if the driver's license, not going to change anything unless they change the rules for those programs. If this program, you still have, say, the no Social Security number, if you don't have Social Security, not allowed to have it, it's still the same, because this is not a Social Security number. The IT number, people who have IT number, they pay taxes same thing than us. They pay the same over 30% of income that we pay. They pay the same FICA, which is the Medicare, Medicaid. I think it's a 15.5%. They pay the same thing than we do, and they have no Social Security benefits.
Right.
So unfortunately, that idea that the immigrants are they're not legal resident to take advantage of the taxpayers, it is not true. The reality is that we are taking advantage of that because they pay such a good number of taxes, they not take advantage of that.
So let's talk about the safety issues, because there are a lot of safety issues. And now we can add the pandemic safety issues to this. What are the advantages of undocumented or non-legal people having driver's license in terms of safety?
In terms of safety, one of the things is very clear. They're going to be tested, right? They're going to be tested like all of us, to have a police officer sit in this and say, you pass or you didn't. So they know what you're doing. They know the rules. They know what the law, the rules of driving. So it's safer for all of us to have people who know what they're doing on the roads, right? It's in the accident, if I don't have a driver's license, if I'm documented, I don't have a driver's license, I have more to worry about than if I have one, because the police is going to take me. They're going to send me back home because I don't have a driver's license. So it's one more reason for me to get nervous if in a case of accident. So, and I won't probably not be able to think about what's the best move at the moment. So the safety, it's a crucial, because we need people who on the road who know what to do. So we give them a chance to have follow the same rules than everybody else does, is allow them to be tested and have a driver's license. And with the pandemic situation, they have to carpool for everywhere they go, because they can't say, I need to go to work, I need a ride. What are they going to do? I can't drive myself in a car alone. I have to get a car with, 4 or 5 people to go to work, as I can drive. So people do that all the time. That's normal life for immigrants. And with the pandemics, that's making it more difficult to keep a social distance and all the safe precaution that we should be taking at this point.
And so many of these non-legal residents are essential workers. So here they are, so not socially distanced in, packing into cars and then going to work in these places where we all need them.
Yeah. One thing that construction didn't stop. There was a lot of, landscaping, people snow removal, house cleaner. Most of them didn't stop. It slowed down, but didn't stop. Unfortunately, there are people who can't afford to stay home and they don't get paid, and they need to work. So it is essential worker for sure. And one thing that I want to suggest is there was not a lot to know about immigrants without people put out there, right? Unfortunately, not a lot of people go to the, social media, to the, or any news and talk about the reality, the real situation. Sit down with some, if you have somebody walking around, in your yard or ask them to give half an hour of their time and sit down and talk about it and say, let's talk about what brought you here. It's so many stories, they end up being one kind of story because it's about how I want the best for me and for my family, especially for the family. Stories, it's so many different stories, so many heartaches, so many nights crying until you get to decide what to come to other country, to go to the other country. When you go to the other country, when you move to other country, we know what you're going to expect. We know it's not going to be easy life, but we're not looking for easy life. We're looking for better life. Immigrants are fighters. They are fighters. There was not easy to do what we do. We don't just leave what we know and who we love behind. We leave part of ourselves. What I'm doing today, talking to you, I did in my early 20s in my city, in my village. It took me almost 20 years to use my voice again. So part of me was I left behind for 20 years. Listen to the story. It's always a very important love story behind every immigrant who leaves the country. That's what I want to ask, take some time to listen to stories, take some time to talk, without judgment. You know, we don't know, even if you have close friends, sometimes we don't talk about our life, you know, because we don't know how they're gonna see us. If it's a close friends, sometimes they judge, you know, if you know what you feel undocumented. Some people don't have a close friends, they don't know they have no legal residence, because we don't know how to talk, you know, how they're gonna. So I'm sorry. I just
That's all right.
We need to hear your story sometime, Mayusa. Okay.
Oh my God.
We need to sit down and hear your story.
I'll be glad. I'm gonna cry, so I just prepare for that.
Okay, so all right, we'll stop here. Mayusa, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. We'd love to follow up with you again on the soon, and also your work with the Human Rights Commission and probably senior care too. But it's always great catching up with you, and we will follow up on this for sure.
Thank you so much for having me and for listening to me. Thank you.
We enjoy talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.